Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA players, legends, and the top instructors in the game share their insights and playing lessons. Join Chris every Tuesday night as he talks with the greats of the game. Tonight's show is sponsored by TaylorMade Golf, the PGA Tour Superstore, Golf Pride, Zexio, Sun Mountain Golf Bags, Finn Scooters, making the game more fun, Bionic Gloves, and the Macklemore Club. Experience life above the clouds. Now, here's your host, Chris Mascaro.
Happy Women's Golf Day, everyone. Today is a day dedicated to bringing more wonderful women into the game of golf, plus celebrate the great ones we already have. I want to send out a special shout out to the great women who have made such a positive impact on the game and to this show. People like Cindy Miller, Lisa Longball Vluswick, Susie Whaley, Debbie O'Connell, Debbie Doniger, Maureen Medill, Natalie Sherry, Rhonda Ferguson, Kelly Stenzel, Sue Uyghur, Nancy Corsolino, Avery Zweig, Jane Geddes, Missy Bertiotti, and one of my guests tonight, Michelle Holmes. You ladies are fantastic. Thank you for the great contributions you've made to this game and to this show. Women's Golf Day has events going on in 900 locations in 68 countries, giving women the opportunity to explore getting lessons, joining leagues, getting access to teachers, and just getting involved with the game of golf. It's a wonderful event, making free resources available to girls and women who want to play. Go online to womensgolfday.com for more information. Good evening, folks, and welcome to Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and I'm really excited about tonight's show because I've got a resident director of instruction, Tom Patri, back with me. How can you not be excited when you have a legend like Tom leading off an all-star lineup? I'll talk to TP tonight about, and stop me if you recognize this, short game, short game, short game. As I put the finishing touches on my preparation for my annual Buddies golf trip, which is coming up next week at the Macklemore, which I couldn't be more excited about. So I need Tom's help. I got to get a little short game help. Got to get some putting help. We'll also talk about the PGA Championship and a whole lot more when TP joins me in just a few minutes. Following him, I'll get a return visit from four-time winner on tour and another guy who has become a fantastic instructor now, and that's Chip Beck. We'll talk about his memories of playing at the Ocean Course at Kiawah Island during the 1991 Ryder Cup. It was a very young course back then, and according to a Golf Digest article I read, and one columnist wrote about the course, you have to wonder why in the world the PGA of America would take the Ryder Cup to an unfinished golf course in a mosquito-infested swampland designed by an architect the players universally despise. Wow. Let's see about that and how Chip felt about that and maybe the other players as well. Plus, he was paired with Paul Azinger in both rounds of the Friday matches, so the early and the afternoon rounds, against Seve and Jose Maria Olazabal. And remember, Seve and Azinger hated each other following the 89 Ryder Cup. We'll hear from Chip about what it was like being immersed in that grudge match when he joins me about 25 minutes from now. Following him, I'll get a return visit from perhaps the best U.S. kids instructor on the planet, and that's Michelle Holmes. We'll hear what Women's Golf Day means to her, plus how we as parents can do a better job of supporting our junior players versus putting pressure on them to hit every shot perfectly, and then the expressions that we carry on our faces if they've hit a bad shot and the message it sends to them. So how can we be better parents and better caddies if we happen to be caddying for our junior player as well? Looking forward to having Michelle back as part of the show. She'll join me about 50 minutes from now. And then we're going to round out tonight's show with a visit from my favorite golf course designer, and that's Bill Bergin. As you know, Bill co-designed the Macklemore, but he's done close to 100 either original designs or renovation projects around the world. So we're looking forward to having Bill back as part of the show and hearing about the work he's going to be doing at TP's winter home course, Crown Colony, plus a second 18 holes up at Macklemore. I'm hearing rumors. We'll talk about that and his other projects, plus some of the memories he's had from his playing career when he joins me a little over an hour from now. So there you have it, folks. More great stories, tips, and information are coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. And thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with me tonight. Before we get started, got to remind you again about our friends up there at the Macklemore. Again, my buddies and I are headed up there next week for our annual golf trip. It's finally next week. I can't wait to get up there. So excited to play the course and see the other wonderful amenities that they have up there. The Macklemore is a beautiful community resort and golf course, just 35 minutes outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee, up on Lookout Mountain. Folks, go online to themacklemore.com to see how spectacular the place is. Their new clubhouse and bar are open. The Krieg is a great place to have dinner and drinks with scenic vista views from Lookout Mountain. So you look out over the valley and all around Chattanooga. It looks absolutely spectacular. The course is co-designed by our good friends Bill Bergin and Reese Jones. And our friend and PGA Tour caddy Kip Henley said, outside of Pebble Beach, it's the most beautiful 18th hole he's ever seen. And Golf Digest agreed, by the way, naming it the best finishing hole in America since 2000. See why everybody is saying that by checking out the course and the resort online at themacklemore.com. And folks, this segment of the show is brought to you by TaylorMade and their TP5 and TP5X golf balls. High draw? Check. Low fade? Check. Bump and run? Out of the sand or flop shot? Check, check, and check. No matter what shot you need to pull off, there's one ball that's better for them all, and that's the new TP5 and TP5X from TaylorMade. With a newly redesigned dimple pattern that decreases drag and increases lift, it's the number one ball in golf, no matter the shot. So whether you need to hit it high over the trees, under, or even through them, hit TP5 or TP5X, the one ball designed to handle it all. Check them out online by going to TaylorMadeGolf.com for more information. All right, now back in for a staggering 51st time is our resident director of instruction, Tom Patri. Tom is now settled into his new summer location at Farmington Country Club up in Charlottesville, Virginia. So if you're in or anywhere near Virginia, West Virginia, or the Washington, D.C. area, and you want to get lessons from a top instructor who will help you win whatever level you are competing at, even if you're like me and all you're competing for is for your buddies to buy you a beer or dinner following the round, Tom Patri is your guy. If you can't go see Tom in person, you can download the V1 video app and send him videos of your golf swing, and he can help you get dialed in through the app. Please check out his website, tompatri.com, and subscribe to his newsletter while you're on there. You can also subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch over 150 free playing lessons while you're on there. Be sure to follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Tom Patri Golf, and it's always an honor to have TP as part of the show. Good evening, Tom. How are you, my friend? It's always good to have it. We're going to kick off the next 50 episodes with a little variation of it. There you go, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Really doing good. How are you doing, pal? Everything good?
Everything's great. How can I not be? I get to talk to you tonight. Everything else pales in comparison to spending time with you, my friend.
It's going to be like that. Okay, here we go.
Hey, how are things going up in Charlottesville? What's been the latest over the last couple of weeks at Farmington Country Club?
Yeah, we're doing great, Chris. It's really great reception. Really great reception by the membership. It's been terrific. I've gotten to play the golf course a couple of times now. I really like it a lot. Great facility. We had a little bit of a down over Memorial Day weekend. We had some bad weather, but with the 5-bay indoor teaching building, TP lost 0 lessons because of that teaching building. It's spectacular. And I've got to explore a little bit. I've been over to the UVA campus a couple of times. It's fantastic. It's gorgeous. It really is pretty. And the town is great. It's alive. Even though school was really out, there's still a lot of students, graduate students around town, and college towns have such a great vibe anyway. So it's fun. I've been having a good time. I'm prepping a little bit right now, trying to get some extra reps in. I've got the U.S. Senior Open qualifier on June 7th at the Homestead, 2 hours from here, and I'm excited about that. 86 players for 2 spots. I'm going to go over there and give it a roll.
Wow! So good luck to you, my friend. That's tough odds, but if anyone can overcome them, it's Tom Patri.
No. We're going to go over the day before, play a practice round, see the place. I played there about 20 years ago, Chris, and I remember it being a really good golf course, the Cascades course, being a really good par 70. So I don't think the scores will be really low there. I think they'll be, a couple under. We'll probably get in. So, why shouldn't it be me, right? Why not?
That's right. Why not you?
Right. Exactly.
Tom, we haven't spoken since Phil's big win at the PGA Championship. Got to get your thoughts. What do you think? What you saw from Phil and what you saw on the golf course?
Well, I mean, the golf course obviously won the tournament. You know, I mean, the golf course was the winner. Phil did I'm not a big Phil fan, as you know, Chris, but I mean, my hat's off to Phil Mickelson. That was a hell of a performance in very, very difficult conditions. 50 years old, what a tremendous accomplishment. The one thing I'll say, and listen, I'm not taking anything away from the accomplishments. It's good for golf. It's good for senior golf. It's good for regular golf. It's good for golf, period. But if we go back not too long ago, imagine, and he was 50 when Phil was 50, right, pulling this off. Imagine if Watson had pulled off that last par on 18 at Turnberry, and I still can see that second shot coming. And I played golf there. He had a perfect golf shot, and how that ball released the way it did, I can still see that happening. Now remember, he would have been 60 at the time. If he had, my only comment is this: I want to get your take on this, Chris. If Watson had pulled off that British at 60, would we be talking much about Phil at 50?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. And I'm with you. I remember that golf tournament. I was rooting so hard for Watson to pull it off, and I remember that shot too. I remember it releasing over the green. I thought, you got to be kidding me. Really, we're going to have to go to a playoff, and does he have it? To win in a playoff, and I feel bad for Stewart Cink because I think everyone hates Stewart Cink for having won that golf tournament.
You can't think it. You can't think anything with Cink. I mean, he obviously won the golf tournament. It's a playoff and you win. But when he hit that second shot in there, I didn't think there was any way. I thought he hit a spectacular golf shot in there. We flagged it, and golf gods weren't with him, man. It wasn't his time.
Yeah, that's one of those that I still lament that win didn't happen. It's not unheard of, Tom, that somebody north of 50 can compete in a major championship, or what is the fifth major, right, at the Players. So I know we all like to have recency and think, hey, Phil's the only one to ever do this or whatnot, but we haven't gotten the win. So Phil, obviously, he is the oldest major champion, got it. But other guys have been there to give it a run. So this isn't unheard of, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jay Haas, who's a wonderful guy, just one of the really great people in professional golf all time. I had a conversation, not too long ago, and I asked him how come he had such a great senior career after it's kind of a journeyman regular career. And he says, Tom, the golf ball doesn't know how old you are, And I think that speaks volumes. I mean, the golf ball does not know how old you are. So if keep yourself in reasonable condition, and so many of these guys are in better shape now coming off the regular tour, and they're still competitive and they still want to play, and they can still hit it out there pretty good. You get the right conditions, especially firm and fast conditions, like there was a Kiawah and like you have at a British. I think you'll see it happen again. I think now, it's kind of like when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. We were told that the human male could not run a sub 4-minute mile. And I don't know if you know this, because when Bannister broke that record, the 4-minute mile, not a few weeks after that, 2 other guys broke the 4-minute mark again. So, the mind is an interesting thing, boy. When the mind gets the green light and understands, hey, this is possible, it does incredible things. So I don't think this is over. I don't think this is over at all.
Tom, one of the things that now people are saying with respect to Phil and his career, that win puts him in the top 10 all time. Is he in that conversation now?
Well, I mean, God, that's a hard one, isn't it, Chris? I mean, if you start naming names in all time in top 10, I mean, if we put 50 candidates down for the top 10, we could easily come up with 50 names that have had incredible careers. And you go back to Hagen, and you go back to, Bobby Jones, and you got to put Steve in that conversation, and Byron Nelson in that conversation, but Phil has a boatload of wins, 45, I believe. Is that right, Chris?
That's right.
I'm going from memory. 45 and 6, right?
That's right.
I mean, that's a hell. Listen, if Tiger Woods didn't exist, Phil Mickelson would be the greatest player of this generation. I mean, hands down, right? You take Tiger out of the mix, and Phil is the man, you know. And he just came along at the wrong time with Tiger there. But and again, I'm not a big Phil fan, but you cannot shake your head at Phil's career. It's an incredible body of work. I mean, obviously we're missing the U.S. Open, and I'm sure he has nightmares about Wingfoot still, and the Jeff Ogilvy win. But you got to have an awful lot of respect for his playing career.
Tom, switching gears a little bit and talking about bodies of work, and I know you've got very little going well for you in sports right now with your Yankees circling the drain, but you got a wonderful message from one of your junior players that you worked with over the winter down at Crown Colony. Talk about your latest student victory.
Yeah, I've got a young man, and Chris, I'm really lucky right now because, one, it's a long baseball season, and I'm not really worried about that right now at all. I know you love taking your shots, and there's such trivial and juvenile cheap shots. I'll just overlook that right now with that second market team you pull for. But anyway, I'm pretty blessed right now. I've got a couple of really good players right now. And the kid you're speaking about, Maverick Conaway, was from the Indianapolis area. Just the Golf League Tour Championship, Junior Tour Championship in Kentucky was played, and I think he had 73, 73, 72 in pretty tough conditions, and shot 34 on his back nine coming in to win. He's come down, like you said, a couple of times over the winter. He's a V1 student. He's a regular V1 subscriber, so when we're geographically unacceptable with each other, we exchange a lot of film. The kid has worked very, very hard. He's long. He's got a lot of length. He's a tall, lanky kid. He's got a beautiful putting stroke, and he's got an incredible work ethic. So and the fact that he's very bright as well. He's got great grades in school. He's a bright kid. He works hard. He does everything you ask him to do. He's kind of a model student, actually, and he's a good athlete. He's a good basketball player. He's a good athlete, and he's got a work ethic. So, I mean, he's going to be successful, and he's not going to be successful just because of me. He's going to be successful because he's got great parents, wonderful parents. He's a good player himself, and he's a good hard worker. So he's got a lot of balls that are, lining up in his court pretty nicely. I think, it's still too soon to know this, but I think he's a pretty legitimate D1 possibility at a decent program. So I'm really excited for him. I'm really excited for the win. He won another tournament about 2 weeks ago as well. So he's on a little bit of a roll right now.
Tom, speaking of putting, I got to get some tips from you tonight because, as you know, I've got my annual buddies trip coming up next week.
I got to stop you right there. A couple of your playing partners, friends of yours, called me and asked me if I would just not do this right now for you because they feel like it's not really fair that you're trying to take an undue advantage of my knowledge against them. And okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, everyone's got access to coaches. I just happen to have one on the other end of the line. You know what I'm saying? So, all's fair and love and golf, as they say. So help me out putting-wise, TP, because one of the things that I'm working on is my stroke. And, Jackie Burke used to say 25% back, 75% through. Is that the proper stroke length? What's your philosophy on stroke?
Chris, far be it from me to object or to go the other way on Jackie Burke, who's one of the great golf minds of all time. I think that's changed a lot as green speeds have changed a lot. If you look at PGA Tour strokes today, you see a lot of longer backstrokes and kind of cut off follow-throughs. I mean, if you look at Brent Snedeker is probably the best example that comes to mind, but if you look at Justin Thomas, you look at Ricky Fowler, who's a wonderful putter. There's not much of a follow-through. It's more of a quasi-pop stroke. I call it the hammer and nail because you don't take the hammer and put it through the sheetrock. You kind of hit the head of the nail and the hammer stops and all the energy goes into the nail. Well, I want all the energy going into the back of the ball, and I want it to be fairly short and crisp. So I've gone from being a symmetrical stroke putter teaching, back and through is equal both in terms of length and pace. And I taught that way for a long time. And I almost sound like a hypocrite at age 62, but I'm kind of in the Snedeker camp right now. I like that little hammer nail stroke. I like to put some energy in the back of the ball and pop it a little bit. And of course, you have to calibrate that for speed purposes. And I wouldn't suggest, even though you have an incredible set of hands and you're an incredible athlete, with your golf game with your buddies so close, I wouldn't suggest making major changes right now. But it's something you might want to mess around with in the future a little bit.
The other thing I've noticed recently, Tom, is particularly with someone like DJ, when he gets in his setup over the ball and again sticking with putting, he takes a left hand and he reaches across to his right bicep area, right arm above the elbow. Yeah, and I think he's checking to make sure it's connected to his right rib cage. Is that something we do in our putting stroke as well? Do we want to stay connected with our elbows and our arms to our side, or is that something that he's doing for a different reason, perhaps?
No, I think you're right on, Chris. I think you're absolutely right. I'm a big believer in staying connected. But I caution everybody when they look at somebody like DJ, because you can't really get inside of him and feel what he's feeling. And I certainly do like the elbows closer than further away. But I just caution everybody that we want to take 2 aspirin, not the whole bottle. That, we want to get connected, but we're not trying to jam our elbow against our side or put a lot of pressure against our rib cage. We're kind of more or less gently resting our arms against the sides of our body and staying what I call lightly connected. But yeah, I like that as a thought. I do.
And what about those 3 to 5 foot knee knockers, Tom? When we're standing over them, we're trying to, for most of my buddies and I, weekend warriors, if we've got those 3 to 5 footers, more times than not, it's not for birdie, it's to save par or to make a bogey, and we certainly don't want to walk off a green making worse than bogey, because then we start to feel bad about ourselves and our frame of mind goes, in the wrong direction as we head over to the next tee. So what are some things that we can do on those 3 to 5 footers to make more of them?
Well, I think, first of all, let's keep in mind every shot we hit on the golf course has one value. 250-yard drive and the 5-footer are worth the same amount. So they're all equal. I think I call those 3 to 5 footers, those, any putts inside 10 feet, I call those expectation putts, because I think one of the things that really puts us behind the 8 ball is we think when we get that close to the hole that we should make them all, and our expectation level is through the roof, and we can't often fulfill that expectation, because the truth is, even the tour doesn't make every one of those putts, although they make a much higher percentage than the average golfer does. But I think one of the things that we do wrong is that we have worry going in, and we don't get committed to a positive thought and a positive mindset when hitting those putts. Because, I think we've talked about this before. Every morning at work, when I get, whether it's at Crown Colony when I'm down during the winter in Fort Myers and living in Naples, or here at Farmington, every morning after I get set up, I leave enough time to putt for 30 minutes. And part of that 30-minute period is putts 5 feet and in. And I'll putt 2-footers and 3-footers, repeatedly, because I don't want it to be surprised or have to think about it like it's something new when I get to the 3rd hole tomorrow and I've got a 3.5-footer downhill left to right. I've seen that happen 1,000 times already this week. And people go to the putting green and they putt 20-footers and 30-footers. When was the last time, and I'm being serious with you now, when was the last time you went to a green and for 30 minutes putted a 3-footer? Just repeatedly hit it 3-footers for 30 straight minutes.
Oh, never.
Never. Never, Chris, never, I don't know if you know this or not, never is a long time ago. That's a long time, never. So I think that we have a lack of preparation for the things that possibly trouble us or scare us or frighten us the most. So you've got to go to a green and you've got to stick a tee in the ground 3 feet away. And I'm just making this up, but on Monday, put 3-footers that are straight in the hole. And on Tuesday, 3-footers that go right to left. And on Wednesday, 3-footers that go left to right. And then on Thursday, 3-footers that go straight downhill. And I do that, kind of around the horn on a rotating basis throughout the week, every day. and I've always been a pretty good putter, and I'm not really, I wouldn't call myself a natural putter. I'd call myself a developed putter. Natural putters are Crenshaw. An example of a developed putter during his PGA Tour career was Tom Kite, who just worked his rear end off on his putting stroke. So I think that some putters are born and the other putters are made. I think it's possible to make yourself a good putter, and it takes a tremendous amount of work, and you've got to work on the things that trouble you the most, the distances that really bother you. And that, in your case, if it's 5 feet and in, and 5 feet and in requires a lot of attention.
TP, just a couple more before I let you go. One of the other things that I wanted to get some help on is we're going to be out there playing at 8 a.m. So we'll be the dew sweepers for the 3 days that we're there. And conditions change, right? When you've got dew on the ground, the speed of the green is going to be different at 8 a.m. than it's going to be when we get to the back nine, because evaporation will have happened and things of that nature. So you're going to have a variation of that. And then when we're out playing on the courses, we are trying to get onto the green and the dew is in the rough. And that's going to have an impact on how far the ball flies and things of that nature. Talk to us about how do we make the adjustments for conditions when the ball is wet and water gets between the club face and the ball. And then once we get on the green, how much that speed variation will happen based on the amount of dew at the beginning versus the end of the round.
Well, the first thing I always tell guys when they go away on the guys' golf trip together is if you have an 8 o'clock tee time, you should also make an 11 o'clock tee time. And you can always cancel the second one because there's this thing called drinking the night before. And sometimes the 8 o'clock tee time, we don't answer the bell. We don't answer the bell. Now, I'm sure your guys don't do anything like that. You would never think of that, but you might want to make that second tee time. Anyway, so dew is a real thing. Dew is a real thing in the morning. Dew is a real thing in both in the rough and on the fairway. And anytime you get a substance between your golf ball and the face of the club, we've heard the term, and for our listeners, the term flyer. And a flyer is anytime you get a substance, either a liquid or just some light blades of grass between the ball and the club. The ball comes off there with very little spin, and it tends to go erratic distances. So that's a real possibility. So one of the things you need to do, first of all, Chris, is after you've made your practice swing, if you make a practice swing at any shot you could do in the ground, you need to wipe the face clean and make sure you've got no residue on the face from the practice swing, which guys don't think about doing, because you want to minimize the possibility of the flyer lie or the flyer occurrence. Okay? If you feel like the ball is pretty wet laying on the ground because you examine it, you might want to play that and understand that that's a possibility. So if you have a pin that's middle back and you take your yardage, you want to take the yardage for, maybe 15 or 12 to 15 yards short of the pin. Because if it releases and takes off on you, you want a little cushion there. And if it comes up short, at least you're underneath the hole and chipping or putting uphill. You want to take that long flyer over the green out of play. In the rough, if it's sitting down, you're not going to have a flyer. But when that grass is really wet and heavy, loft is your friend. So you want to loft up and just advance the golf ball and get it out there. You take a club or two off in really wet, heavy, long rough, and you're not going to get the club through the grass, and you're going to hit the ball 5 feet in front of you, and you're going to be unhappy. And why didn't Patri warn me about that? It's his fault, not my fault, because it would never be your fault. I understand. as a Red Sox fan, it would never be your fault.
You're exactly right.
Exactly. So those are a couple of things you have to look out for there. I am really excited for you. I'm really looking forward to hearing your report after you come back from there, because we on this show, you especially, have talked up the Macklemore so much, and I've seen all the pictures and heard all the reviews, and it's been so wonderful. And our good buddy Bill Bergin, who you're having on later tonight, who's coming to do our work at Crown Colony for us, I'm so excited. He's been a long time friend since college golf, and one of the fine human beings on the planet. He and Reese, from what I understand, did a hell of a job up there. So I'm really anxious to hear your report about the place.
Tom, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date and get more of your wonderful lessons for themselves on your YouTube channel, and follow you on social media as well.
Yeah, because that YouTube channel is starting to get some action. We have about 100 almost 150 videos up now. Absolutely free for anybody who wants to jump in and get some information. Please subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about it. We want to get more subscribers on that channel. But, all the regular places, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram especially. I did a couple of live posts this week on Instagram from my teaching team. I enjoy doing that. And the thing I really enjoy is coming on here with you and chatting with you. You're the best. You got a great lineup tonight. Please say hi to Chip Beck. Please say hi to Bill Bergin for me. They're both dear friends, and as you are. And I love being on here with you.
I appreciate you, Tom. Always enjoyable getting to spend time with you tonight for a 51st time here on the show. You're fantastic, my friend. Stay safe. All the best to you and the family.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks. You have a great night.
Thanks, Tom. You too. Folks, that's the great Tom Patri. Tom Patri Golf is where you can find him on social media. And the YouTube channel is fantastic. 150 videos on there for all of us, for every aspect of your game, and it's available to all of us for free. So I highly encourage you to go check it out and subscribe to the channel while you're on there. Looking forward to catching up with TP again in a couple of weeks. Okay, before I get to my next guest, Chip Beck, I want to give a shout out to a few of our sponsors, starting with our friends over at Squares Golf. Are you like me, always considering new golf equipment? Maybe a new driver? I'll tell you what, let me reset your thinking because I discovered Squares golf shoes. The patented square toe provides balance, stability, and a wider base for increased connection to the ground, effectively increasing your swing speed by 2.2 miles per hour, an average of 9 yards of distance. Independent tests prove it. That's right. It's proven in science. Go to squares.com. That's SQAIRZ.com and get Squares 30-day money-back guarantee. Use promo code DISTANCE for $20 off. Remember, distance comes from swing speed, and swing speed comes from your connection to the ground. And folks, I wouldn't tell you about it if I didn't experience it for myself. I've never felt more stable in my golf swing, which allows me to swing faster and launch it further. Squares, the distance golf shoe. I also want to give a shout out to another new sponsor, Bionic Gloves. Do what you do better with Bionic Gloves. Whether you're looking to own the golf greens, improve your workouts, or get your hands dirty in the garden, Bionic Gloves has you covered. Designed with a hand specialist, Bionic Gloves feature patented innovations that help improve your grip. The strategically placed anatomical relief pads also prevent calluses and blisters, while the web and motion zones allow for greater dexterity and flexibility. Head over to BionicGloves.com to find the perfect glove to up your game. And I want to remind you about our friends over at Zexio. In 2001, Zexio Strixon began making clubs for men and women, and they've improved on those clubs every year since. Every part of Zexio clubs are made exclusively for Zexio. Everything is light and balanced. Swing weights are made to give us the highest smash factors. And the best part of getting fit for Zexio clubs is hitting it higher and straighter than ever before, changing your game. Zexio clubs are a Golf Digest Hot List Gold winner for 2021. Congratulations to Zexio Ambassador MB Park for her 5-stroke victory earlier this year at the Kia Classic. It was her 21st victory, and she did so using Zexio 11 woods and 10 irons. See how Zexio can help your game as well. Go online to ZexioUSA.com and pick which set is right for you. Okay, now next on the tee with me is 4-time winner on tour, Chip Beck. Chip is from Fayetteville, North Carolina. He played his college golf at the University of Georgia, where he lettered all 4 years from 1975 to 1978. He was a 3-time All-American. He was named first-team All-American in 1977 and 78, and he was team captain his last 3 seasons. He helped lead Georgia to 2 SEC championships. His 66th in the 1978 Dixie Tournament still ranks as one of the best rounds in Georgia golf history, as does his season average of 71.61 in the 1977-78 season. His 27 top 10 finishes are still number 1 all-time in Bulldog history. He averaged 8 top 10s for 3 straight seasons from 1975 to 78. He won back-to-back Carolina Amateur Championships. He won 5 times while he was at Georgia, including the Southern Intercollegiate Tournament 3 times, and the All-American Tournament plus that 78 Dixie Tournament. He won 4 times on the PGA Tour, at the 1988 LA Open, and a couple of months later at the USF&G Classic by a whopping 7 strokes over Lanny Watkins. He also won the 1990 Buick Open and the 1992 Freeport Golf Classic. Chip famously shot 59 in the third round of the Las Vegas Invitational in 1991, becoming at the time only the second player to ever do it. He finished runner-up at the U.S. Open in 1986 and 1989 and in the 1993 Masters. He was a member of 3 Ryder Cup teams. In 2009, he was inducted into the Illinois Golf Hall of Fame, and I'm very honored to have him back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Chip, thanks for coming back on the show.
I love your show. I'm so excited, man. You do your homework. I can't believe it. You know, one of the things that came to my listening to Tom Patri, one of the interesting things is I remember in 1983, the last hole of the Memphis Classic at the old Colonial Country Club. And I remember we all hit our second shots up there in the fairway. Like Fuzzy Zeller, Larry Mize, and I had 3 last shots. We were the last group in the tournament, and a rain delay was called. I went to the clubhouse. The first time it's like almost being in a playoff. And I was nervous and anxious. And I got back to my ball out in the fairway, and I thought, man, I don't know how to stop this thing from flying. It was so wet. The grass looked like it had grown an inch in the rain delay. And I knew it was just going to shoot off that grass. And I tried to control it, but I hit it off the back of the green. And Larry Mize hit it way right, about 45 feet from the cup. And Fuzzy hit it 10 feet. I said, man, this is Fuzzy's tournament. But believe it or not, I chipped it down there, made my par. And Larry made this 45-footer, and Fuzzy missed. So he beat us by a shot. But it was like so disappointing because I did not know how to stop the ball from shooting and flying off that fairway, that wet grass. Isn't that incredible? So I had to learn to do that through my career. And that's the thing, you learn from your mistakes when you play professional golf. All the mistakes you make, they make you a better player. I remember when I first went on tour, I couldn't hit the ball low. Growing up in North Carolina, we didn't play in any wind. We might play in 20-mile-an-hour winds in March or something, but we didn't really play in a lot of wind. Well, heck, I went to Phoenix. It was blowing 35 miles an hour. I went to Dallas. It was blowing 50 miles an hour. I mean, it was blowing so hard. And we'd go to Phoenix, and there would be 4 golf courses, 150 players for 1 spot for each course. I mean, you had to really play some golf just to get in the tournament. And I didn't qualify until July of that year. I didn't know how to play in the wind whatsoever. But over time, I learned to play in the wind. And, you know, it's really funny because when you use a weak grip and you're trying to hit knockdown shots, the ball always curves. And it's rare that you can hit it 200 yards like a bullet with a weak grip. The ball will always curve. It's impossible to do it any other way. So I really had to learn the hard way. And I'm glad I did because at least I understand how to play now.
One of the things TP talks about all the time on the show is Dr. Trial and Mr. Air. Is that how you learned how to play all of those different things? How you learned to play in damp conditions? How you learned to play in the wind? Or did you seek somebody out that was from that area or played in those kind of conditions frequently and say, hey, how do I do that?
Well, I'm leading the Atlanta Classic like 1979, and I'm on the 71st hole. We're playing Atlanta Country Club, and the higher you hit it, the better you play because you need to land the ball softly. Well, a 5 o'clock storm came through, and the wind was kicking up 25 to 30 miles an hour. I drove it right down the middle on the 71st hole. I'm dead into the wind, and so the next hole is straight downwind. I said, man, if I can hit this ball in the middle of that green, I'm going to knock it on the green with a 6-iron on 18, and I'm a birdie to win by 1 shot over Calvin Peake, who had just shot 61. So I said, well, I'm only like 155, 60 yards or something like that. So, well, I'm going to take 2 clubs more, and I'm going to crash it right in the middle of that green. I'm going to crank it. And I'll never forget it. I hit it so good. I hit my line, and that ball hit. It rose higher and higher, and it came up short of the bunker. I make double bogey, And sure enough, I go to the next hole. I'd knock a driver 6-iron on the green, make birdie, and lose the tournament by a shot. I'm thinking, man, I just didn't know how to do it. And I asked Jim Colbert. I said, Jim, you played right behind me. You were the last group. I said, how did you hit that shot? He said, Chip, I got a little closer to it. I got right up on top of it, put the ball right on my sternum, and I just punched it right up underneath the wind, and he knocked it right in the middle of the green. I said, you need to show me how to do that. And see, back then, Jim was probably in his 40s. He would show me. And that was the beauty of the tour back then. I was playing in my 20s. I was probably 21 years old at the time. I'm playing with guys in their 40s, 45 years old. And, boy, I learned a lot from them. But that's how you learn. It's on-the-job training, man. And I'll tell you what, it's painful, too, because I played so good that week. So I still
no
remember
doubt.
it. But if I could knock it down and hit it in the middle of that green, as I learned to do, you know, it would have been a lot easier. I remember, it's really funny you talk about that. I remember I was leading San Diego. I'm on the 18th fairway. I drove it right in the middle of the fairway. And I've got about 220 yards, 25 yards to the flag over that creek. Devlin Creek, or whatever, Devlin Lake. Bruce Devlin hit it in that lake a couple times. They named it after him. And I didn't know what to do. I'm on the down slope. I tried to take a 3-wood or an iron and cut it out of there, catch part of the right side of the green. I hit it in the bunker. Didn't get it up and down. I lost the tournament by a shot. I get in and J.C. Snead says, Chip, what the heck are you doing? Why don't you just take that 3-wood and cut it all the way across the green? I said, J.C., I never even thought about doing something like that. I didn't know I had a shot like that. I never tried it. He said, yeah, just cut it across there. Cut it 25 yards. At least you'll get it on the green. So, you know, you learn a lot from guys when I was growing up because they teach you. They say, man, Chip, that you need to improve this. Or they'll say, you're the worst. Like Chi-Chi said, Chip, you're the worst wedge player I've ever seen. Get over here, son. Put it back in your stance and knock it down. He said, at least you'll get it on the green. So some things like that you just don't forget. I remember it's kind of funny, you know, like I remember Sam Snead. The first time I played with him was the Quad Cities Open, 1979. I hit my tee ball, and he comes up because it was kind of below the tee, and he cussed at me. He said, damn it, son, keep the ball in your stance. I said, Mr. Snead, what do you mean? He said, well, you can't play from up there. How you going to play when that ball's outside your stance? And he shot his age that week. So, I mean, wow. That's pretty impressive. Go look him up. I mean, you learn a lot from those old timers, man. I love that. When I played, it was the best time in life because I played with all my legends friends, you know.
Chip, we'll get more into Kiawah Island in the 1991 Ryder Cup matches here in a minute, but I want to start by getting your thoughts on what you saw from Phil at the PGA Championship.
Well, you know what? He's really clearly one of the great players in the last 40 years, easily, if not the history of the game. When you think about, 45 wins, 6 majors, that is really impressive. There just aren't many people that can do that, especially during the Tiger Woods era. He would have been the number 1 player in the world for 15 years if Tiger hadn't been around. And the thing that's so amazing about him, at 50 years old, I remember Raymond Floyd playing the Ryder Cup at 50 years old. And, man, it was hard for him to play 36-hole matches one after the other. So he sat out on a couple of matches just to make sure he had enough energy and strength. And he was a tough competitor, old Raymond was. And I loved Raymond because of that, because he wasn't afraid of the devil, and he wasn't afraid to give it everything he's got. And I still remember him and the excitement he got from playing golf at 50 years old. I loved him, and it brought back a lot of memories because I was sitting next to Raymond Floyd in 1989, and we're playing the Belfry in the Ryder Cup, and, we're trying to get the cup back from the Europeans. And our players are so long compared to the European team. And so, for instance, Curtis and myself, we were just average length, kind of like what the European players were. And we'd have it 280, 285 into the wind to the dog leg right at the bunker, and we'd hit 2-iron on the green. Well, Fred Couples hit 9-iron. Payne Stewart cut the corner. Mark Calcavecchi at the corner. All our long hitters cut the corner, but the wind was circling back and knocking the ball down. So I remember Raymond saying, boys, it's my fault. I should have known that ball was getting knocked down by the wind. We should have taken our 3 woods out, just play it straight towards the bunker and hit a 5-iron on the green. And he said, if I'd have been thinking, we'd have won this thing going away. But when Curtis hit that ball on that green to where we were not going to lose that match, hit a 2-iron, Raymond's eyes got so big. I thought, man, this is the most exciting thing I've ever seen. And Raymond, when I was 10 years old, came to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and that's what made me fall in love with the game. I followed him. He brought Jack Nicklaus in. I mean, imagine this, 1967, Jack Nicklaus had won 7 times. Raymond had won the PGA at the time, but 1963. But Nicklaus had won 7 majors, and he wasn't in the PGA, 5 years of service for the PGA of America. Well, he came to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I remember just about every shot they hit on that golf course, Cypress Lakes, Ray's dad owned part of it, LB. And, man, Raymond gave me 30 brand new Wilson Staff golf balls. Man, I prized those golf balls. And then they both gave their signatures. I kept it on my bulletin board above my bed. I looked at it every night. I just love those guys. And then to actually have him as my captain, I was in heaven. And I'll never forget it. He came in, he said, Zinger and Beck, you guys have worked your way on this team. You've earned it. Play hard. We're putting you in. We're counting on you. And I tell you what, I knew right then and there we were going to be tough to beat. Because you know what? He understood teamwork, and he understood you're only as strong as your weakest link. And we were the rookies. And, man, I could kiss Raymond Floyd if I saw him right now. I love the man. Fantastic.
One of the things I want to get your perspective on, Chip, is I was doing some of the research looking back at that 91 team and that course. I read a Golf Digest article that was talking about the course and those matches. And Peter Costas is quoted as saying, at the time, the opinion was you could never hold a medal play tournament there, talking about Kiawah, because you could never finish. And Roger Maltby said, I remember everyone asking, why are we going there? And then once we got there, everyone saying, why are we here? And then one columnist wrote, you wonder why in the world the PGA of America would take the Ryder Cup to an unfinished golf course in a mosquito-infested swampland designed by an architect that players universally despise. Are all those accurate depictions of what you guys thought heading into that?
You know what? I thought it was the hardest golf course I'd ever played. Especially because they raised the golf course so you could see, the wind. The wind really had an effect. They raised it like 4 feet the whole back 9, if not the whole golf course. And so the wind was. I've never played a golf course, I don't think, before or since, where on like 17, if you cut it a foot, it would go 30 yards. The wind was just so dense. It had so much moisture in it, I couldn't understand it. But Cal couldn't finish because he never hit a draw in his life, and the ball just moves left, right so much. I don't know how in the world. One of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life was when Hale Irwin, I'll never forget, Dave Stockton said the night before the last round, the last statement, he said, and Hale, we want you to bring the ship home. And Hale said, I would consider it an honor. And you won't believe this, but back then, this was all before all the equipment. Hale was in his 40s. And every guy, even I could outdrive Hale like 30, 40 yards. Most guys could outdrive him because he wasn't a real long hitter. And, if you look at Bernhard Langer, he hit 5-iron in, or 4-iron in on the last hole. Hale Irwin hit 3-wood in on the last hole. But the last 5 holes work against every weakness that Hale Irwin has in his game, in my opinion, because I don't know what I could have done if I couldn't close the face and hit a hook. That golf course was so hard. And that guy was the toughest competitor I've ever seen. And I've loved him ever since. Every time I see him, I said, Hale, you're still my American hero. You're the greatest player of all time, man. Your tenacity and your gut is greater than anybody that's played the game. I said, because you know what? to hold that team together to the final putt was a miracle for a guy that hit it like Hale Irwin did at the time. Because, he was known as a real straight hitter, and he played tough golf. His golf course is really hard, but still, when a guy's out driving you 40 yards like Langer could, it's a tough match. And he took him to the finals. So, Hale Irwin, and he deserves everything he gets. That guy is one of the great players of all time. I love the guy.
And Chip, like you mentioned, you and Paul Azinger, you guys get paired together in the Friday matches, both matches, early and late in the afternoon, and you're going up against Seve and Jose Maria. And Seve and Paul weren't the best of friends after that 89 Ryder Cup, and I imagine it didn't get any better after 91. Talk about what was the gamesmanship like, and what was the atmosphere like?
Well, it was so competitive. I'll never forget it because Seve had like a cough going, and literally and truly, I get on the ninth hole. It's a dog leg right to left, and I get right to the top of my swing, and Seve goes, he clears his throat. And I remember I was so focused in on hitting a nice low curve green because it was a very tough hole. And I eased up, and Zinger's walking off. He said, "You want me to say something?" I said, "Zinger, act like nothing happened." I said, it definitely slowed me up, but it's okay. I'm in play. I hit the ball good. We're all right. We can still manage it. But if he keeps going, let's do something about it because that's ridiculous. Because he could clear that throat at the perfect time. And, man, he did it a couple other times. And the next day, what was really cool about it, Raymond Floyd, we were talking about the team meeting. Well, the next day, Seve on the first tee clears his throat right at the top of the swing of the player. And Raymond runs up to Seve. Seve, we're not playing like this. That's not, if you do that, you're going to have to face me. This is not going to be pretty. And, man, Seve didn't do it for the rest of the day. So it was really it was a dogfight. But you know what? What I loved about Seve and what I loved about these guys, they gave you everything they had. It was like Nick Faldo. Nick Faldo didn't care who you were or what you looked like. He would give you the time of day. And I loved it because, you know what? He was a tough competitor. He was a fair competitor. And he gave it everything he's got. And you know what? Those are the best matches that I can remember. And I remember Zinger saying, hey, Faldo, get away from my partner. Leave his line. Leave him. Get away from him. He said, well, I'm just looking at it. So Zinger after 87 when Faldo beat him, he still didn't like Faldo, so it's funny. They had a wholesome, rivalry. It was just a great time in golf. One of the great times of my life. I loved it so much. And Kiawah, being close to Fayetteville, North Carolina, all my family was there. So my dad, all my brothers and sisters were there. We loved it. We had a great time.
Chip, you finished second at the 1989 Players Championship. Actually slept on the third round lead with guys like Tom Kite was one back, Couples and Crenshaw two back, and Jack Nicklaus at 59 years old was still only 4 shots back on that at that tournament as well. What was it like being a part of that event and that leaderboard?
And I remember I was a little bit nervous, and that first fairway is pretty tight. And I kind of hung it to the right in the right rough, which is probably, if you're nervous, that's where you should be. The hole at least opens up a little bit. But, man, everything I did that day, I was just uptight. And I shot like 43. And I was actually, I felt like crying. I felt so terrible throwing the lead away and throwing my tournament away. And I remember looking at my wife at the time, and I thought, man, I literally felt, I remember tears in my eyes going down 9, being out of it and all. And I said to myself at the turn, I said, well, this is the time that I need to actually just buckle down and pretend that, okay, everything went well, and I'm a hang in there, and I'm gonna give this hole everything it's got, and I'm gonna birdie this hole, see if I can get off to a good start. Sure enough, I had about a 10-footer on 10, and I just said, man, I need to roll this thing in. I need to really start feeling this putt going in. and I rolled it right in. Oh, man, it was like a complete relief that I finally did something in the proper vein, and it went well. So anyways, I shot 32 on that back nine. There was the putt on 17. I hit it in there close, about 10 feet, and I just misplayed it, didn't make it. And then on 18, I hit it like 25 feet. Tom Kite was on the front of the green. I mean, it's not a difficult 2-putt, but you can definitely 3-putt because it's like up 3 tiers. Well, I made that putt. Tom rolled it up there. He still had to make about a 10-footer. And I made that 30-footer for birdie. And Tom made his putt to beat me a shot. But I'll tell you what, that was a good comeback. But it was so disappointing, and yet I always wanted to win that tournament because it was my favorite course of Pete Dye's because it really differentiated between talent. And there were just so many interesting holes there. And from day one, you know, we tried to improve the golf course. When we got there initially, you'd have putts from 10 feet that would break 3 different ways. And the pros just can't stand, you know, triple breakers. Double breakers are great, but triple breakers will drive everybody crazy. So Pete Dye had to come in there and redo those greens and get rid of all the triple breakers, you know, because the thing that made Augusta great was the fact that if you looked at the apex of the green and you had a slope, you know, that was going to the hole, you could see the apex. You could see your ball going up to the top and rolling straight down into the cup, kind of like Tiger's chip from the back of 16. You can visualize it, see it, and man, that's what makes golf really exciting. But when a ball is moving, it looks like it's going in, and it moves the third time. Nobody's that good. So I got drilled for many years. The players and Nicklaus and every tour player that knew anything about golf was there trying to make that a better golf course. And it became, I think, one of the best TPCs, but for sure, that we have. I think it's a great course now. So, yeah, that was a good feather in my cap, but I wish I could have won that. You know, I think the problem that you find out as you play golf and you play it for a career, sometimes I didn't feel like I choked, but what I did was I got too careful and tried too hard. And that's as big a choke as anything else in the world. That was the thing that was so amazing about a John Daly. You know, he won the British Open at St. Andrews, and he said, Chip, my driver cracked on the 9th hole. I was hooking it 50 yards. So I went to 10. I hooked it 50 yards on the green. The more I hooked it, he said, I just left it in because he figured, you know, if it hooks 50 yards, at least it's not going right. And the more you hook it there, the better shape you're in. So sure enough, he won that tournament with a cracked driver. I mean, can you imagine?
Wow.
I would have been freaking out.
No.
But stuff like
No
that
kidding.
didn't bother him. He was a funny guy because I'd say, John, great tournament there. You know, he played the Shark Shootout, and I think he won it. And he said, Chip, I was hitting it so good. I went right to the bar, got him a shot. I got a shot of Jack Daniels, drove the first green, and never looked back. I said, man, John, that's awesome. I wish I had more of that in me. You know, I didn't have any of that. But I, you know, that was just an amazing, the ability to just let it go and turn it loose. Incredible. That's a gift, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Chip, one more before I let you go. Yeah, it is. Let's talk on the upside. After finishing second 7 times, you break through for your first win at the LA Open in '88. You win by 4 strokes. And I'm just curious, after all those close calls, what was it like for you to walk up 18 knowing you had a big lead and you were going to get your first win?
You know, the week before was probably the worst day and the worst time of my life. I was staying with a good friend of mine named Lenny Clements from San Diego. And I knew my marriage wasn't going to work out. I had 2 children, and I just knew it was a tough situation. And I thought to myself, you know, the only thing I can do this week to keep my sanity is to think one good thing after each shot and not worry. And that was my goal. I didn't care what happened. And, we had rain delays. I went into the tents and started putting with all the kids. Time to go. Let's go. I said, to hell with it. I don't care what happens. Because when you're down like that, sometimes you're at your best. It's hard to even imagine, but I got so sick and tired. I bogeyed 8, and Jay Haas was catching up, and I thought, you know what, I'm sick and tired of these guys always catching me and beating me. I said, there is not a way that I'm going to give this tournament up. And I remember I was on the 9th green, and I hit a shot that came back on the 2nd tier, and I had to putt up to the 3rd tier. And I said, dadgummit, I'm going to make this putt. I don't care what happens. I'm going to make this putt, and I'm not going to look back. I made that putt. And then I went to the 10th hole, and I said, I'm going to drive it right on the front of that green. The green's right. The flag is right on the front. I'm going to take my driver. I'm going to put it right on that green. I drove it 10 feet short, chipped up, made my birdie. And then the next hole, I said, the heck with it, man. I'm going to knock this wedge in the cup. And I remember it came back and ended up about 2 feet from the cup. I tapped that in, and I said, this is it, boys. But that was different. That was a different psychology. I was always playing afraid and always playing. The game was so different because we'd come out of college completely demoralized about our game. I had so many friends quit. One of my best friends quit, Robert Donald, and it even took Curtis Strange like 4 years to get out there. And, even when he's winning the U.S. Open, it was hard on him. And it just about killed him trying to win 2 U.S. Opens, and the kids today do it with ease because he didn't have the pressure of actually getting out there on tour. So I remember, when Tiger Woods was 16, he's coming up the 18th hole at the L.A. Open. And I remember JC standing up there and a lot of these old-timers. Let's see what this young kid can do now. And I said, gosh, it's amazing. This kid is 16. He's playing in a professional event. Think about how good that is. He missed the cut. But I was so amazed that Tiger Woods was that good at 16. But the thing that was so amazing was the guys back then was, let's bring him on. Let's see how good he is. Because, see, back then, you had to qualify to get on it. And there were so many guys that could qualify. They just cut their teeth on qualifying. It was, if it's 150 guys for one spot, no problem, man. You had to shoot 63 to get in the tournament. They knew it. They'd get it. But you learn a lot when you're not afraid of a whole lot when you're qualifying to get in events. So I remember, for me, it was like playing in 6 tournaments. I'd have to qualify, and then I'd have to play to the Friday cut, and Friday was the first day I'd take a break, get a breather, have a nice dinner, relax, not work out. And then I had to really play well so that I wouldn't have to qualify on Monday. And, man, it was a grind, but it made you a lot tougher. But it also, I think it hurt us a lot because we'd lose our confidence and we'd have to build ourselves back up. And I felt fortunate that I was able to do that. And I think a lot of that's why I finished, I had 20 some odd second grade and that freedom and that goodness that allows you to just play with that effortless ease, So it's a whole different ballgame. It's the same on the Champions Tour today, guys that are exempt for 20 years and the guys that are qualifying. The guys can win 50 times because they don't have anybody competing against them because everybody's qualifying. So it's a pretty easy game, So anyway, It's just fascinating. Golf is like that psychologically,
Chip, before I let you go, remind our listeners, how can they stay up to date with all the things you're doing, whether they're going online or it's on social media?
Well, you know what? I've actually been working with this company called Perfect Motion, and the most amazing thing about it, you don't have to send any videos. You can take swings, you just put your phone on the ground. It takes swings of you, and I can know everything about your golf swing, and you don't have to worry about sending it because once you take your swing, if I'm your coach, I get it immediately. And it's the most amazing technology. And I know that it's slow getting off the ground right now. And, but I do think that we're starting to see some inroads into the teaching world, and we're getting a lot of usage globally. And I think once it gets into Asia, it's going to be Katie, bar the door because it's going to be wide open. But yeah, you can keep up with me through chipbeck59.com. That's as easy as anything.
Well, Chip, it's always so much fun when you're a part of the show. I hope you'll come back soon and do it again.
Yeah, you guys let me talk. I like being able to talk, because it's I'm reminiscing a lot now. I'm turning 65 in September, and I'll be on Medicare. And so I'm having a good time in my life, and that's all I can tell you. I'm having a great time. So, and I'm glad I'm still playing too. I've really enjoyed it. So enjoy it.
I look forward
for having me.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to next time already. I hope that comes around real soon.
Call me anytime.
I appreciate you, Chip. Take care. All the best to you and your family, my friend.
Yeah, good luck with your show. I love your show. Be good now.
Thank you, Chip. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
That's a great Chip Beck. Boy, I tell you what, I could sit back and listen to him tell stories all night long. The experiences he's had, the tournaments he's been involved with, the players that he's been around, all the great champions of the past. Holy smokes. I just love Chip, and the enthusiasm in his voice is so contagious. Look forward to having him back on the show again soon. Before I get to my next guest, Michelle Holmes, I want to give a shout out to a few more of our sponsors, starting with our friends over at Finn Cycles. It's time to rethink golf. The game is at a tipping point. The young people we need in the game don't have 4.5 hours to spend out on the course. Pairing Finn Cycles with a desire to play ready golf can cut playing time in half because all golfers go directly to their own golf ball. Plus, it's tons of fun. Go online to finscooters.com and click on Find a Fin for a course that has them near you. I also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Golf Pride. Did you know that Golf Pride lets you rep your favorite team while also using the #1 grip in golf? Your team, your grip, MCC Hybrid Grips, the #1 grip series worldwide. Features an exclusive brushed cotton cord in the upper hand for all-weather performance, with premium rubber in the lower hand for added feel. The new MCC Team Series is available in a variety of new color combinations, so you can rep your favorite team out on the course. Available in standard and midsize. Check it out online by going to golfpride.com. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by our friends over at the PGA Tour Superstore.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. Now back to Chris and more of the show.
Okay, now back in next on the tee with me is Michelle Holmes. Let me remind you about Michelle's background. She's from Mayo, Ireland, which is on the central west coast. Started playing golf at the age of 10. At St. Mary's Secondary School, she finished first in the All-Ireland Schools singles and second in the All-Ireland Schools doubles matches. She won 2 All-Ireland titles and 7 Connacht Provincial Under-18 championships. She was selected to play for both her provincial and the Ireland All-Under-18 teams. She got a scholarship to play her college golf here in the States at Campbell University. In the 2001-2002 season, she was named to the Atlantic Sun All-Freshman team. In the 2003-2004 year, she earned a spot on the Atlantic Sun All-Academic team and finished tied for 16th at the Atlantic Sun Championship. She helped the Lady Camels win the Atlantic Sun title by 26 strokes. She's now an LPGA teaching professional and a Master U.S. Kids instructor, and perhaps the best one on the planet. And I'm thrilled to have her back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Michelle, thanks for coming back on the show.
For having me. I had never heard Chip speak before. I could listen to him all night.
Yeah, with you. He is endlessly fascinating and has so many wonderful stories. Boy, I could listen to that guy tell stories all night as well.
Yes.
So, Michelle, I got to wish you a happy Women's Golf Day. I know. It's been an involved day for you, I'm sure, and all the young girls that you are doing such a great job bringing into the game. Talk about what Women's Golf Day means to you.
I think it's a fantastic thing that they started. I'm not sure when they started the initiative, but I absolutely love it. I actually haven't got too involved as far as getting involved on the ladies' side of things. But of course, I'm always trying to grow girls golf, and actually just finished up a day of lessons, and I think I had 9 lessons today, and I think 6 of them were female. And actually, when I look at my program as a whole, one thing I'm very, very proud of is our program. We see over 500 kids through the door a year, and we've over 60% girls in our program. So Women's Golf Day means a lot to me.
Michelle, are we doing enough to bring more women into the game, or are there still things that you recognize that we could be doing a better job of?
The one thing I really think about when I think about getting ladies into the game, and again, I'm teaching kids 100% now, but when I think back to my days teaching, just your lady who's coming in for golf lessons, at the golf club, and the one thing I think we're not doing enough of still is giving these ladies opportunities to get out and play in a comfortable environment. And I think we're still seeing too many ladies get stuck learning the game. They get stuck taking their regular driving range lessons, but not having enough opportunities to get out and play the game. Like, I'm even guilty of it myself. I can't tell you how many ladies I taught back in the day, and I'd see them maybe a couple of years later or 6 months later or whatever, and I'd say, "Oh, how's it going?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I love my lessons, but I'm not really playing. I don't know what to do now. I'm too scared to get out in the golf course." And I think we're still seeing a little bit of that. So I think people are moving in the right direction, and I think, golf pros like myself are doing the right thing, but we can just keep doing more and more.
Michelle, talking about how dedicated you are to young kids playing the game, I love the videos you post of those kids having fun and celebrating each other's great shots, or if they make a putt, that sort of thing. Talk about working with kids and seeing the joy in their eyes and their reactions when they hit a good shot.
Yeah, well, I have to say I have the best job in the world. I've never woken up and thought, "Oh, I've got to go to work today." So I feel so blessed to be involved in so many kids' journeys. And people always ask me, why do you teach all kids? And, I definitely prefer teaching kids because there's no fear. There is that joy in it. There's no overanalyzing things. So yeah, it is fun. It's fun to see them, when, let's say when they're having trouble at the start of the game and then they hit that one shot, or make that one putt, and to see that excitement, it's really cool.
And you have a wonderful video pinned to your Twitter account of 3 kids. One young girl appears to make a really good putt, and the other 2 help her celebrate. Are those natural reactions, or are those things that you encourage the kids to do because you want to see them, helping each other, encouraging each other, having a good time with each other, and not just focused on their own golf game?
Yeah, we're always encouraging good sportsmanship and to, encourage your other players and cheer for them and so on. And I do catch so many wonderful little snippets. What I do in my lessons, I'll always have my iPhone there, and I'll just lay it down. They forget it's even recording. And then at the end of the night, I'll kind of go back and I'll remember where the cute moments happened, and then I'll post them from there. But yeah, we're always encouraging that. And, we're big encouragers in our program of getting our kids out competing young too. So we're trying to get, we're trying to create those, how am I going to say this? We're trying to create, good sportsmanship early.
And Michelle, one of the things both you and Hal Sutton do a great job of on Twitter is cautioning we as parents about our reactions when our kids hit a poor shot or maybe they played poorly that day. You recently posted that the best thing that we can do as parents or as caddies for our kids is give them the freedom to make mistakes and then encourage them to try again, which is hard for us because many times as parents we're living and dying on their shots. How can we do a better job of supporting our junior players?
Well, what I always say to parents, in golf we have parents have a great opportunity to be out there with their kids. On so many other sports, parents are left on the sidelines. So we're so lucky in golf So I always tell parents, you are 50% of the team. If you decide to caddy for your child, you're now 50% of the team, especially if it's a young child. And I always say to them, hey, if me and you were playing a doubles tennis match together and I wasn't playing very well, what would you do? You would try and bring your A game. So that's what I always try and tell them is when they're caddying for their child, on the days when the child doesn't have their A game, that's when they have to have their A caddy game. And so often we see it happen, differently. I mean, it's very easy to be a good caddy on the days things go well, but it's not easy to be a good caddy on the days and things aren't going so well. But again, just reminding parents, these young kids really don't have a mental game. And so whatever we are saying to them as adults, that becomes their mental game. And so we've got to choose those words very wisely.
And Michelle, you growing up in Ireland, I'm guessing playing in the rain was just part of everyday life as a junior golfer. And when kids here scoff at the thought of playing in rainy conditions or if it's drizzling a little bit, do you laugh at them?
I laugh at them. I actually run, as I said earlier, I run maybe 20 golf tournaments a year for U.S. Kids Golf, and I maybe run another 30 tournaments a year for Virginia State Golf Association. But sometimes we'll have bad weather days playing in my tournaments for the first time or texting saying, is the event going ahead? And all the people who've been with me for years are laughing at this because they know if it's playable at all, we are playing. So I think, obviously that's kind of a little bit about my background, but I think it's just important that we do teach these kids to play in all conditions. That's the beauty of our sport, right? It's an outdoor sport.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of, conditions, how is playing the game here different from playing the game back home in Ireland?
Well, the biggest game changer for me, I guess, when I came to play college golf, I kind of had to forget about my 5-arm bump and run and learn how to play some flop shots. So that was quite a change when I came to college. But yeah, I mean, I grew up playing complete links golf, so of course the conditions are quite tough. I found American golf easier in a way when I moved here because I felt like you could just fire everything at the pin. There wasn't as much thinking to be done on the golf course over here. And now when I go back and play links golf, I'm frustrated with it, and I almost feel like there's a little bit of luck involved in links golf too, which there definitely is.
And when you're working with your junior golfers, here's something I think a lot of parents of teenagers and kids in their 20s, I think we get frustrated with. How do you get them to be immersed in the game, put their phones down long enough to focus on learning the game, and then keep their phones down to go play 18 holes of golf?
I know that is a tough one. I actually had a situation the other day with a kid who's always on her iPhone, and I was in a lesson with her, and she was coming across the ball, and we were working on this, and I said, hey, give me that iPhone there. And I actually put it down and front and left of her ball, and I said, now go ahead and hit your shot. And the look of fear in her eyes. So I let her set up, and I let her think about it for a second, and then I said, actually, we're not going to do that. Stop swinging across the line, please. But no, it is tough. They are completely engulfed in their phones these days, that's for sure. But going back
and Michelle, for those folks, I'm sorry, what was that?
Going back to kids being prepared, prepared for tournaments and stuff, the one thing I always try and ingrain in my kids is all we can do as golfers is show up prepared. Some days the golf gods are going to be against us. So when my kids come back from a tournament, whether they've won or whether they've had a poor showing, the only thing I ever say to them is, did you go to that golf tournament prepared? That's the only question I ever ask them. And I think as long as you as a competitor know that you showed up prepared, that's all you can really take care of. The golf gods sometimes are going to be with you and sometimes they're going to be against you.
Michelle, for the folks that weren't with us the last time you came on the show, do you mind resharing the story? How does a girl from the west coast of Ireland end up coming over here to play her college golf at Campbell University in North Carolina?
So, yeah, I grew up playing junior golf in Ireland and started at age 10 and had a pretty successful junior career and played, for my club and my province, and I played for Ireland. And then, back then it was interesting because not many Irish girls were coming over to the States. It just wasn't a thing at the time. And there was maybe 3 girls who had gone before me. But there was a girl, her name was Ada Burke, and she went to Campbell University. And I guess I just started thinking about maybe I want to go to America, do something different. And, back then the recruiting was much easier too, as far as, being in communication with the coaches. So she was a huge help for me. And she put me in contact with the coach and obviously had a decent resume. And before you knew it, I was on the plane to North Carolina with 2 suitcases. One was full of clothes, one was full of picture frames, and, found my way. When I think back, I was 17, 18 at the time, and there was no such thing as recruiting trips. My parents didn't even come with me. They just put me on an airplane and off I went, and my coach picked me up the other side. But I had no idea where I was going. I just thought I was going to New York City. I just thought everywhere in America was like New York City. That's all I'd ever seen on TV. So when I landed in the boondocks of North Carolina, I can't tell you the shock I got. I thought I had landed on a house in the prairie. It was quite a culture shock. And then to find out that Campbell University is also a dry county, that was a second shock for me.
Oh, yeah, no good. No good for a college student.
Well, no, and definitely no good for an Irish person.
That's good.
So yeah, but there was the best. I actually didn't think I would last 4 years initially at Campbell University, such a small university in North Carolina. Once I realized where I was, I didn't think I would last 4 years, but I did do the 4 years, and it was the best 4 years of my life, and had a wonderful experience playing college golf. I recommend it to anybody.
Michelle, before I let you go, let our listeners know, for the parents out there that want to get what I consider to be the best U.S. kids coach on the planet, how can they stay up to date with you, get in touch with you, get their kids enrolled in a class or instruction from you, because you're absolutely outstanding.
Oh, thank you very much. I am on Twitter. It's Holmes Golf, and I'm on Instagram, Michelle Holmes Golf, and Facebook, Michelle Holmes School of Golf. So if any parents of junior golfers out there have any questions, I will be glad to chat with them.
Michelle, you're absolutely wonderful. Your enthusiasm, your positivity, and the great work that you do with the kids, bringing them and getting them involved in the game of golf, is second to none. I can't thank you enough for coming back and being a part of tonight's show. You're, like I said, you're a treasure.
All right, for having me. Always nice chatting to you.
Take care, Michelle. All the best to you and your family. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's the great Michelle Holmes, folks, and I'm sincere. You've got to follow her, and you got to check her out online and on social media. She is such a joy to be around, and the way that she interacts with the kids and gets them excited about the game of golf and rallying around each other and praising each other and being excited for each other when one of them makes a putt or a great shot. It's just absolutely, it warms your heart watching the videos that she puts out there. So looking forward to catching up with Michelle again soon. Before I get to my next guest, Bill Bergin, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the official underwear of the 2021 U.S. Ryder Cup team, the captain and all vice captains. They are worn by more than 30 players on the PGA and Champions Tour. They are also worn by over 70 NCAA Division I colleges and 17 NFL teams. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort, fit, and performance, from the golf course to the boardroom to the bedroom. Find these 2 Under performance men's briefs in over 4,000 golf pro shops nationwide, all Shields sports stores, PGA Tour Superstore, Golf Galaxy, and other fine retailers near you. Go online to 2under.com. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2Under Performance in your pants. Use code ONTHET20 for a 20% discount at checkouts. Not valid on items already on sale or NCAA licensed briefs. Now next on the tee with me and making his 9th appearance on the show is Bill Bergin. Bill played his college golf at Auburn University from 1978 to 1981 and was named first team All-SEC every year, and he helped Auburn win the 1981 SEC championship. His 65 during the 1979 Pan American Tournament still ranks as one of the lowest 18-hole scores in Auburn golf history. He's played in over 250 professional tournaments worldwide, including 3 U.S. Opens, 2 Open Championships, and over 50 PGA Tour events. He's now one of the top golf course designers on the planet. He started his own design business, Bergin Golf Designs, and he has designed or renovated courses all over the world. Bill has been involved in well over 70 course design projects. In 2017, he was named one of the top 10 most innovative people in golf. You can see his work by going online to his website, bergingolf.com. And I'm very excited he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Bill, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, Chris. Great to be with you again. And what a nice lineup you've had tonight.
Yes, very excited. You talk about an all-star studded lineup, and here you are batting cleanup. Doesn't get better than that, Bill.
I've got a good Chip Beck story. So when I was a senior at Auburn, I qualified for the U.S. Open at Ballesteros, and I played my practice rounds with Chip Beck and Tim Simpson and some old past champion named Gene Littler. And it was quite an experience. And Chip, as you know, there's not many better and nicer guys than Chip Beck. So he treated me really well when I was a young player, and I appreciate it always.
Bill, you've got a whole bunch of projects going on. Catch us up. What are some of the things that you're working on now or have coming up right around the corner?
Yeah, so we are just returning from Santa Rosa Golf and Beach Club, and if you've seen any of the pictures of that course, everything underneath the ground is basically sugar white sand like you see at the beach in Santa Rosa Beach and Destin and Rosemary Beach and that whole 30A along the Gulf Coast. And you talk about an spectacular medium to work with. And we've taken a golf course that was literally overgrown with trees, had a lot of water hazards, and just had this closed-in feel where the breezes didn't blow and it was hot and kind of muggy. And we've opened this thing up and exposed all this white sand, creating dunes. We've literally recreated dunes that you would see at the beach, and we've put them on the golf course, framing holes, separating holes. It's just incredible. It's one of the most fun pieces of property that I've been able to work with. And I work a lot in the mountains, and I love mountain golf and have been really fortunate to work in some incredible environments. But I'll have to tell you, this sand moves really easily, and we don't have to move any rock or any of that stuff. So it's quite a treat.
And Bill, speaking of your affinity for mountain golf, I hear there is going to be a second 18 up at Macklemore. What's going on there?
Well, we are investigating some options, and we have an incredible site that we may be working with. Incredible. In fact, it could make the existing 18th hole, which was voted the best new 18th hole in America built in the last 20 years. It will rival that with numerous holes like that.
Wow. So when do you anticipate kicking off that project?
Well, we haven't announced it quite yet, but you know the guys up there. So we're still working on planning, but if everything goes well, we'll probably be doing a little bit of clearing and exposing some of the incredible views this fall.
Is that going to be a Bergin original, or are you going to have Reese Jones co-design with you?
I'll be working with Reese and Steve Weiser, and so we'll keep our team together.
you may be aware, my buddies and I are going up there next week for our annual golf trip. It's going to be my first time getting a look at the property and being there at Macklemore. I couldn't be more excited or more anxious to play the golf course and the Karen, by the way, to kind of warm up or cool down. Looking forward to all of that. So I need a little insider information, Bill. My buddies are probably not listening tonight, so I need to get a little something that, where should I not hit? Besides not hitting it left on 18, where are some things that I need to be aware of that might give me a little extra insider information?
Well, first, leave plenty of time to enjoy the Cairn, and it's a 6-hole short course with holes ranging from about 45 to 100 yards. It sits above our new 18th hole on the old 18th hole fairway, and it's right below the clubhouse. So it's the perfect place to grab a beer or a glass of wine or whatever you enjoy drinking, grab 2 clubs and a golf ball, and get out there with your buddies and doing a little needling, giving everybody a little bit of a hard time, and kind of putting your money where your mouth is on that little course because it is so much fun. And one of my friends just was up there last week, Rob Williams, and he had brought his son and his son's girlfriend up there, and she flew one in the hole on one of the holes on the short course.
Wow.
Slam dunk 8 on the short course.
Wow.
So it's a lot of fun. It's a great spot. So you want to make sure that you have time to play that. And then on the golf course itself, the second hole is just a brute, but it's so beautiful, and it's just a great hole. But it's a drive down to the bottom of the hill, depending on what tees. If you're playing, a long enough tee, it's certainly a driver. But if you're up front a little bit, you might lay it back a little. But the second shot's all over this lake to an angled green, and it's just the key hole on the front 9. But the cool thing, that's a very difficult hole. But the great thing about Macklemore is there are tons of birdie opportunities, and there are tons of potential bogeys. So don't be discouraged, because whatever is around the next corner is a new opportunity to either be greatly challenged or to really be successful. It is not an 18 par type of golf course. Even with the great Nick Faldo, would not be making 18 pars out there. He would be making some birdies, and he'd be making a few bogeys as well.
And Bill, on the Macklemore website, the tagline is "Live life above the clouds." Talk about the elevation of the course, because I've seen pictures where that 18th hole is literally above the clouds.
Yeah, so we kind of average out around 2,000 feet above sea level, which is phenomenal. It puts us in a great environment. It's warm enough to grow, really good fairway grass, and it's cool enough to have fantastic bent grass greens. And Ryan Emerson, our golf course superintendent, keeps the greens in incredible condition. They were aerated at least a month ago, so they should be spectacular for your visit. So, it's going to be perfect. The conditions will be fantastic for you. The 18th hole parallels the ridge on Lookout Mountain, and it plays alongside of it. And as you probably know, the left side of the green drops off about 1,200 feet to the valley below. So it's just kind of awe-inspiring. I know you've seen pictures, but what I will tell you is the scale in person is much better than the pictures. And we've got beautiful photography from both Dave Sansom and Evan Schiller, and they've done an incredible job of capturing the golf course. And even when you go in the clubhouse, you'll see all 18 holes with these beautiful professional photographs, which make it look fantastic. But when you get to the 18th, it's just bigger. It's more, awesome is an overused word, but it's kind of awesome. It's just one of those places where you go and just say, wow.
So is the elevation up there enough to make the ball travel further, or is it really placed similarly to
half a club?
No.
Yeah,
all right. That's good to know. Write that down.
Not a lot, but a little bit. Okay, so that's a good inside piece of information. You'll hit your irons just slightly longer than normal. You'll hit your driver a little bit longer, and you've got some downhill tee shots where you can really launch it. The 6th hole is sort of infamous. It's a par 5 that drops about, maybe 150 feet from the fairway landing area to the second shot landing area in the green. So it's a big drop off. And what you want to do on that tee shot is keep it left. Hit it down the left side. It has a co-fairway with the 9th hole, so you almost cannot go too far left. And over on the left side, you get a great view of the green in the second shot. So hit your ball left off the 6th tee.
Left on 6, right on 18. Got that. Protest.
There you go. That's right. Otherwise, it's very straightforward.
Bill, you and I sort of semi-joke about there needing to be a Bergin trail through the northwest part of Georgia and maybe eastern Tennessee, similar to the Robert Trent Jones Trail, because now that life is kind of getting back to normal, I'm really dying to get a big taste of your work. What are the courses in and around this area, maybe even around the country for that matter, where we can go play the Bergin courses?
Well, there's a couple of cool triangles. So the triangle in northwest Georgia would consist of Macklemore, and then my newest opening last year, which was Dalton Golf and Country Club. And Dalton is where I won the 1981 Georgia Amateur, and we have put a beautiful golf course on that property. Incredibly good. It's just brand new, so it just opened up in the late fall. So it's a baby, but it's quite a terrific golf course. And they're actually playing the first competition on it next week. The North Georgia Invitational, which is a Chattanooga area tournament, is being held at Dalton. And then the anchor of all three might be Chattanooga Golf and Country Club, which is an old Donald Ross that I redid about 15, 16 years ago. And so those three courses would be an incredible trip, and you're only, maximum 45 minutes apart if you stay in the central area, in Chattanooga area. So or even stay up at Macklemore up on property, and then you can go to the other courses. And then we're kind of, I wouldn't say we're dominating, but we are very prolific in the northeast Georgia, western Carolina mountains. We're just finishing Highland Falls, which has the most unique par 3 you'll ever see. It's a 130-yard par 3 with a 25 to 100 to 3,000 square foot little tiny green with a massive waterfall right behind it and just to the left of the hole. And it is one of the most scenic places you'll ever go. You walk up to that green, and even if you're not playing, you want to go up there and just feel the power of the waterfall right next to the hole. But we have Wildcat Cliffs, which touches the area. We have Highland Falls, and we're now working on master planning Olazabal, which is an Arnold Palmer golf course in the same area. So those three properties actually all touch each other. They butt up against each other. So I've got three golf courses right there, and along with Sky Valley and Sapphire Valley. So we've got 5 golf courses, all within about 45 minutes in the western Carolina mountains.
Bill, I want to switch gears and talk a little bit more about your playing career. And you mentioned your time playing up at Ballesteros. So leading up to that, right, you play at Bethesda Country Club in order to qualify to play in that Open at Ballesteros. You shoot a brilliant opening round 68. You're competing against guys to qualify in that tournament, guys like Hal Sutton, Dave Stockton, Lee Elder, Bob Gilder, Morris Satowski, Mike Reed. I mean, a cast of thousands of great players. Talk about what that experience was like for you.
So you did a deep dive there to get that information. I actually played with Stockton, and that was actually for the 82 U.S. Open at Pebble, but it was at Bethesda Country Club. And I played with Dave Stockton for 36 holes in one day. And you talk about another gentleman. We both made it, and he was rooting as hard for me to make it as he was. And I was a first-year pro that year. But when I qualified for Ballesteros, I actually qualified at the Atlanta Athletic Club in Georgia. And that was 36 holes on 2 really hard golf courses. And I ended up being in a playoff with 11 guys, Chris, for 10 spots. Now, you'd think, how could you miss, right? How can you miss that playoff? And if you know the athletic club, the first hole at that time, I will put it this way. In the morning round, I hit driver in the fairway and a 3-iron on the green. So it's a long par 4. And so we got one of the tougher holes on the golf course as a playoff hole. In the playoff, again, I'm 21 years old and I'm at Auburn, and I am jacked going into that playoff. I am pumped, and I'm in the first group. and I pound a driver out there and hit 6-iron into the middle of the green. So 3 clubs different, all because of adrenaline. Hit it in the middle of the green, and I make par, and I'm like, I'm in the U.S. Open. I made par because somebody out of 11 guys is going to bogey this hole. Well, let me tell you, all my playing partners made par. Okay, and we were in the first group, so we sit behind the first green, and the second group comes through, and they all make par. And now I'm going, uh-oh. And there were only, out of 11 players on this very, very difficult first hole at the Athletic Club Highlands course, there were 2 bogeys. So 2 guys went on to play for 1 spot. But there were 9 pars, no birdies, 9 pars. And you talk about, one of those things where you bet the house that you're in the U.S. Open, but it got a lot closer than any of us who made par wanted it to get.
And Bill, fast forwarding a few years, you finished 14th at the Open Championship 1984. That year was played at St. Andrews. That's the year Seve won. But you shot a third round 66, which was tied with Tom Watson and Sam Torrance for the round of the day. Talk about that event and that great third round.
Yeah, so the 84, Open is at St. Andrews. And I traveled that year a good bit with a friend named Charlie Bowling, who won the South African Open and played on the PGA Tour. And he goes, man, you ought to go try to qualify for the British Open, which we called it at the time. And even Tom Watson, who won it 5 times, calls it that. But he said, you should try to go qualify for that. And so I was playing on a tour called the TPS Tour, which was actually the forerunner to the Web.com Corn Ferry Tour. It was the very first sort of second tour run by the PGA Tour. And I thought if I was playing well and made some money, I'd go qualify at St. Andrews. So I was fortunate to finish second in an event right before I needed to go over to St. Andrews. So I had money, and we decided to go over and had to qualify at a place called London Links. And I was playing well. I'd finished second the week before, and I go over in the qualifier, and I shoot 71.65 and finish second in the qualifier. So I was obviously playing well. And the qualifiers on a Sunday and a Monday of the tournament week, and so I'm straight into the Open Championship with only 2 practice rounds because I didn't get to play on Monday because I was qualifying on Monday. And so, all of a sudden you're playing the old course. And I'll tell you what, the emotions and feelings in golf are sometimes hard to predict. But I stood on the first tee in a practice round with friends of mine. So I wasn't playing with anybody that made me nervous or anything like that. I'm standing on the first tee on Tuesday morning playing at the old course, and I think I was the most nervous I've ever been playing golf on one shot. I just had this adrenaline rush that I can't really quite explain, but I felt just rubbery and loose and like I had no club, and it was really an interesting experience. I would imagine teeing it up at Augusta might be similar, but that was quite an experience. But I made the cut on the nose, and I played with Nick Faldo on the final round. But the third round, I played with a Scottish guy and I ended up shooting 66, which, as you mentioned, was the low round of the day, but also of the tournament. There were 466 shot that week, and I had one of them. So I was, really proud of that. It remains one of my more important playing accomplishments. And the final day, I played with Nick Faldo, and the interesting thing there was, on Saturday, I shot 33 for 66, and then on Sunday, I shot 33 on the front 9. And I went from the cut line to 5th place in just 27 holes. That 9 under over 27 holes was really, it's the best golf anybody played over over that period. So that was a moment that I'll never forget.
Phil, coming out of the PGA Championship, played at Kiawah Island, which was a Pete Dye designed golf course. And one of the things I read is that Pete likes to trick your eyes about what you think you're seeing, about distances on shots. Plus, he doesn't always point the tees in the direction that you need to hit it, which is something I've seen other designers do as well. Do you like those things? Is that an attempt to make us think our way around the course more, strategize more, and not just sort of just go along our merry way and really make us stay focused? Is it an attempt to trick us? Talk about why Pete does that and your thoughts about that kind of thing in course design.
Yeah, so I was able to play a number of speed die golf courses, and some of the more noteworthy ones. I went through tour school at PPC Sawgrass when it first opened up. It was unplayable. I will tell you that. It was impossible, except for Donnie Hammond. But otherwise, it was impossible. So I played there when it first opened. I played tour school at PGA West, which was obviously another renowned golf course. And then some of my favorites, the Honors Course up in Chattanooga is a phenomenal die course. And then out in Oklahoma, we used to go out for the Oklahoma Open and stay with Bob Clay and play in the tournament out there at Oak Tree. And that's a terrific place as well. And I played a number of other die golf courses from Harbor Town, and, and I really like his golf course. So I like his work. He's unique, certainly in the way he does things. But one of the things I will tell you that he really does, he makes the tee shots look way harder than they are, and there's more room out there than it looks. So he makes you uncomfortable, but yet I feel like driving the ball on a die course is actually that difficult. There's always more room than it looks. And so driving the ball, is really, it's intimidating to the eye, but if you trust yourself, you're going to be successful. But around the green, so compared to a lot of the modern designers, Fazio or Gil Hands or something like that, die does tiny greens, much smaller greens, and much more angular around the green complex. So I would say his courses are easier to drive the ball maybe than average and much harder around the green with a smaller target to play to, and then lots of variety as far as elevation, tiny bunkers, big bunkers, deep bunkers, volcano bunkers, all kinds of crazy things around the green. Certainly very unique. And so I love Guy as an architect. I don't particularly model my work after him, although I've been compared with bunkers. Some of my bunkers, I would say, compared to Guy fairly well. And I certainly take that as a compliment. But I think he's a Hall of Fame architect. I think his work on really nondescript bad properties is amazing. I mean, he takes something and makes something incredible from nothing, and he probably does that as well as anybody.
Phil, at the top of the show, our mutual good friend Tom Patri joined me, and I know that you're going to be doing some work down at his winter home course at Crown Colony Country Club in Fort Myers, Florida. Talk about what that project's going to be all about.
Well, how about that? That's a really fun thing, and I have to thank Tom Patri for recommending me and for introducing me to those guys. And, really fantastic for Tom and I will be able to get to spend some time together. I'm sure he'll have some insights for me on give me a little advice on the golf course, but we have just started master planning that golf course. So we are in the process of developing a long-term plan for its future. My son Matt was down a few weeks ago and with his drone and shot incredibly good topo and aerial photography of the golf course. And so we have a great base map information, and we're really looking forward to our work down there. And it's a beautiful, South Florida golf course with paspalum fairways and paspalum greens. And it's a really nice piece of property to work with. It will be one that will suit our style of work very well.
Phil, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with all the great projects you're working on and keep track of things, whether it's on your website or it's over social media.
Absolutely. So the website's bergingolf.com, but we are more active on social media just because it's so easy to interact on a daily basis with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My Facebook, you can do Bergin Golf Designs or Bill Bergin. The others are Bergin Golf. Just Google Bergin Golf and you'll find them. But we almost post daily with different things that are going on with us, and we're working on projects all over the Southeast. And we seem to be on the road every day and on a different golf course every day.
Well, Bill, it's always a thrill to get to spend some time with you. I learn something every single time you're a part of the show. I can't thank you enough for being generous with your time and coming back tonight. I hope we get the pleasure of having you back on the show again soon.
Thanks, Chris, and have a blast at Macklemore. I look forward to talking with you after it's over, and you can give me the good, bad, and ugly. And I hope you guys have a blast up there. It is an incredible place. It's got its own culture and its own feel. It is a wonderful place. And I tell you what, every time I'm up there, I am very appreciative of that property and Dwayne Horton and the owners and the opportunity to work up there. And we're gonna make some more special spots up there for those guys.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be there and see it in person, Bill. I will be glad to follow up with you, and I'm sure I'll tell you what a great time we had and how excited we are to go back.
Very good. Thanks, Chris. It's always good to be with you.
Thanks, Bill. Take care. Stay safe, my friend. All the best to you and your family. That's a great Bill Bergin. And, folks, you want to talk about one of the guys that is destined to be in the Golf Designers Hall of Fame. It's Bill Bergin. His courses are beautiful. The vistas are outstanding. And the course conditions, obviously, he turns it over to the superintendent, who also do a great job. But, boy, Bill's stuff is absolutely outstanding. You got to follow him. Bergin Golf. Go to bergingolf.com to check it out online. But give him a follow on Instagram and Twitter. Like he says, he posts stuff almost every single day about pictures for the before and the after and how things are progressing. And they're just beautiful. He needs to come out with a calendar. I keep telling Bill every year, you need to come out with a calendar, Bill, because his golf course designs are just that beautiful. Folks, before I close up shop tonight, I want to let you know that tickets are on sale now for the Tour Championship here in Atlanta at East Lake Golf Club. The tournament's going to be held September 2nd through 5th. And folks, East Lake is one of the most prestigious and beautiful golf clubs in the country. If you've never been to the tournament, you're going to be wowed by the course, the amenities, and how well you're treated there. Go online to tourchampionship.com to get your tickets today to watch the top 30 players on tour this season decide who will be the FedEx Cup champion and who walks away with a $15 million first place check. All right, folks, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to Tom Patri, Chip Beck, Michelle Holmes, and Bill Bergin for joining me tonight. Please check out our website, nextonthetee.net, to keep up to date with what our guest schedule looks like. And speaking of which, scheduled to join me next week are 1989 Open champion Mark Calcavecchia will be back. 27-time winner on the LPGA Tour, Jane Blaylock, will be making her Next on the Tee debut, as will another one of the top instructors in the game, Jim McLean, will also be here. And the wedge guy, Terry Kaler, will be back to update us on how things are going with his Edison wedge line, which, oh, by the way, folks, are the best wedges I've ever played. So it's going to be a great show. I hope you'll come back and be a part of it with us. Folks, you can stream this show as a podcast on a number of great podcasting sites and apps like Podcast.co, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audio Boom, Player.fm, Odyssey. If you've got a favorite podcasting app or site and you're not sure if we're on it, just type in Next on the Tee in the search bar. We're probably on that site as well. And folks, if you enjoy the show, please do me a favor and go online to podcastmagazine.com and vote for the show in their Hot 50 list. When you're on that site, click on Hot 50. You're going to see a tab for that right at the top. You're going to get a drop-down list that includes Hot 50 voting. Then click on that. And then just type in the name of the show. You'll see a show field right there. And then right next to it, you'll see a host field. So type in Next on the Tee and then Chris Mascaro. I would really appreciate your support. Folks, as always, thank you for choosing to listen to this show tonight. I really appreciate the fact that you continue to make Next on the Tee a part of your golfing content. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.